Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Elena Pinto, and this is the C block or final section of this week's show. And this is our final reminder to download the free PCMTV app available in the App Store or Google Play. All you have to do is point your camera at the QR code on the screen, and it takes you right there. You can download it for free. So pause this video and do it, and get access to our next show on demand. Up next, we take you to Virginia, where no matter how hard that state advocates for adult use, the sitting governor, Glenn Youngkin, wields his veto pen, not once, but twice, shutting down legalization handed to him from his state's representatives. Now, Youngkin is in the final months of his term, and there are two candidates for the vacancy at the end of this year, and both are women. The Republicans have Winsome Earl Sears, and the Democrats have Abigail Spanberger. So either way, there will be history made when either of these women will become the first female governor to be in charge of the Cavalier State. With more from Virginia, here's Joe Parsons.
Hi, I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection by Higher Education's Coffee Talk, sponsored by 97.5 3WB and reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Pro-cannabis media, and especially myself, hope you had an amazing 420 weekend and a happy Easter as well. There is good news to report this holiday from the Commonwealth. The Virginia Democratic candidate for governor, Abigail Spanberger's campaign, released a poll that suggested that she would create a safe marketplace by legalizing adult retail use while cracking down on illegal vape shops. It's also suggested that she would reinvest a large portion to Virginia's schools and their programs. That is a promising sign of what her primary focus will be for her campaign. I myself wish her all the best and hope that this is just one of the many needed changes to the cannabis policy in Virginia. This week on Coffee Talk, we had pro-cannabis media's very own Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy, to talk about growing, starting clones, and other awesome information and tips to help get that 2025 harvest started. So thanks to Mark and Bird for their help. Now, the key to having a safe and worry-free season is to know the core rules for growing in the Commonwealth. So here are the basics to get you started. Number one, you can only have 4 plants total, regardless of what state they're in, seedling, vegetation, or flower. So it's best to start with 2 and then plant the other 2 like a month later in case of disease. Or you might get a male plant. That way you don't have to start completely over in case of a disaster. Number 2, all plants must have a label with your name, your address, and strain information. Don't get caught without this one, or you can lose your plants. Number 3, if you're growing outdoors, all plants must not be visible from the road and cannot have public access. Number 4, outdoor grows can only be on your property. If you rent, you cannot, even with a landlord's permission, grow on rental property. However, indoor grows can be on rental property as long as it's not government funded. Number 5, you're able to keep your entire harvest, but you can only have 1 ounce outside of your house, and stem weight does count. So never carry more than 1 ounce outside of your home. And lastly, a personal tip from me. You should always have the same tag information on your bag that you carry as what's on your plant. That way you can prove that what is on your person is from what you've grown. Otherwise, they might try to take your bag and test it and investigate its origin. Follow these tips and you'll have a great season and a plentiful harvest. Well, that's going to do it from this week's Higher Education's Coffee Talk, sponsored by 97.5 3WV and reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, stay lifted.
There's a lot of hope that the emergence of social consumption lounges will be a solid business model for the future of the cannabis industry in many states. Well, if Nevada is the test case, there's already trouble with sustainability. Tina Tasaka has the story of Smoke and Mirrors, Las Vegas's first social club to open, and now it is the first to close. Here's Tina in Nevada with that and a report from the tribal nations as well.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. When one door closes, another opens, but we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see one which has opened for us. Alexander Graham Bell. Thrive Cannabis Marketplace has shut down Smoke and Mirrors, Nevada's first state-licensed cannabis consumption lounge, just over a year after opening in February 2024. Thrive cited high compliance costs and restrictive regulations as key challenges, saying the current framework doesn't support a sustainable business model. This leaves Dazed at Planet 13 as the only state-regulated lounge in Las Vegas, and Sky High Lounge at New Woo, downtown Las Vegas, run by the Las Vegas Paiute tribe since 2019, operates independently on sovereign land. Thrive plans to repurpose the space for events until regulations improve. Meanwhile, 20 more lounges have conditional approval, but no opening dates. Sessions by the Bay, San Diego's first consumption lounge, is open, and it's tribally owned. Celebrating the opening all weekend for the 420 holiday, the first cannabis lounge is now open in National City. It's 3 stories, 16,000 square feet, featuring a ground floor dispensary, a second floor lounge with gourmet cuisine and THC-infused mocktails, and plans for a rooftop bar with bay views. The lounge offers an immersive art experience, including a 12-room exhibit on cannabis history. To enhance the grand opening festivities, live music artists are being featured each day over the 420 weekend. The Sequan Tribal Development Corporation has partnered with Sessions by the Bay on this project. This tribal entity owns and controls most of the city block on which Sessions by the Bay is located, as well as the nearby Marina Gateway Hotel and the Kimball Coastal Eatery next door. Alex Ayan, owner of Sessions, partnered with the Sequan Tribal Development Corporation, which also owns the U.S. Grant Hotel, the Hotel Solamar, the Singing Hills Golf Resort, as well as their world-class casino resort in El Cajon. That's it for the Nevada highlights and Tribal Nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Please remember to like and subscribe.
Well, here we are on the C Block, and we haven't even mentioned that Sunday, April 20th, was celebrated around the world, not only as Easter Sunday, but the unofficial cannabis holiday. But do you know the origination of 420 and how it all started? Even though there's conflicting information about the official origin, all agree that in 1971, a group of seniors at the San Rafael, California high school used to meet at the Louis Pasteur statue across the street from their high school to enjoy a late afternoon after-school buzz. And now here comes some of the fuzzy details regarding the role of law enforcement in its development. The term 420 was police code for public consumption of cannabis, which, of course, was against the law then and is still a controversy even in some adult use legal states. The group of guys became known as the Waldos, and one of them happened to be friendly with a member of the Grateful Dead rock band. Needless to say, the Dead had a dedicated flower of fans called the Deadheads, who needed no excuse to fire up and enjoy their favorite plant, medicine. The Dead gave it legitimacy and an international stage to spread the word about 420 that has morphed from a time of day to a full day of activities and celebrations. The industry usually has its busiest sales day on 420 with week-long specials and activities, and this year was no different. In Ohio, our correspondent Christina Brisson connected with another friend of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, lobbyist Tim Johnson, and now both are working to gain more acceptance of the plant medicine in their home state. Here's Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Brisson with Keystone Property Renovations with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Recently, I had the pleasure of going to the State House for a reading of HB 198, thanks to Tim Johnson, and thank you again for that, Tim. This was just the first reading, an initial brief overview, where they talked a lot about who is going to oversee any such program if anything comes out of it. Now, this program, or this bill, is all about the regulation of anything with Delta 9 in it, as well as permits and licenses, and only selling to those people over the age of 21. They're looking to make sure all the gas stations and small stores are actually selling to adults. Next, there'll be some testimonies, reviews, and witnesses to see if the bill goes any further. They're currently on break. But to topple this off, Grove City has now lost their chance for a dispensary. City Council had approved for 2 locations and rejected both applications. So now the people that were going to put those stores in their city are now looking outside of Franklin County because of all the money they've already lost. And the state has temporarily issued a hold or a pause on permits for Franklin County. So more to come when the House comes back from spring break, and I'm sure more drama with all the political aspect. That is your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report, and I am Christina Brisson with Keystone Property Renovations with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
In Missouri this week, the regulatory body in the state was busy revoking the micro licenses of dozens of businesses. That didn't stop Brandon Jones, though, from enjoying the plant in his home state.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with Missouri Cannabis Support for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. And I'm live here at 420 Sunny Days. Just put on extravaganza out here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Inside, we're going to have Mindo Dope performing, and the Dab Stars are doing a giveaway. One of their famous ones at 420 with Nick Woodward and Jonah Tacoma. Both are here in Missouri. As you've kind of noticed, we've been staying up on the laws that have changed here. One new thing that just happened is the micro license market around here saw 25 different licensees lose their license. So we're finding out the actual reasons here in the next coming days, but 25 of the micro licenses all lost their certifications. So we'll figure out what that's going in. And if you aren't familiar, there is a licensed recreational and medical cannabis market that is defined by only a certain number of licensees. And then there was a micro license that was given out as well. Those haven't actually came to fruition or been sold yet, but they are in existence. And 25 of them exactly lost their licenses this week. On another note, Missouri sales are continuing to rise. We've seen over 100 million every single month here in the state, and we're projecting even higher up to 125 million with 420 and everything going on in April. There's lots of events going on like this one here where you can consume cannabis and you can also listen to live music. There's a new place that opened in Kansas City where you can also partake in cannabis drinks and watch live music and consume while seeing live music in downtown Kansas City. So everybody, hope you're celebrating in a smart and safe way. Stay medicated and educated. I'm Brandon Jones from B Green Distribution with Missouri Cannabis Support for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Have a great week.
Here in Massachusetts, the market continues to struggle with dozens of dispensaries closing, but there are almost an equal amount of stores that are opening and growing their business footprint. At first glance, the dispensary called Lazy River Products in Dracut does not feature any green in their logo or the word cannabis on their storefront. But that still hasn't stopped that brand from expanding to their second dispensary in Tewksbury, within a few miles of the New Hampshire border. Executive producer Jimmy Young was on hand for the opening of their latest store.
3, 2, 1.
At first glance, you'd never know that Lazy River Products is a cannabis dispensary. After all, there's no green in their logo, or the word cannabis is not on display. But inside, it's got it all. A smell flower bar, a great selection, and a knowledgeable staff.
We knew that we were going to be the ones setting the new standard for excellence in cannabis in Massachusetts. So for us, we really viewed our customers running the gamut of demographics. We knew that we were really catering ourselves and opening ourselves up to everybody. You'll find a lot of people in this space market themselves specifically to that 21 plus age crowd. You know, you walk into the dispensaries and they're playing rap music. And, you know, as a middle-aged, I'm a 51-year-old guy. I've walked into some of these dispensaries and I'm like, I'm a little uncomfortable in here. You know, removing the green and the big pot leaves and the rap music and really, an interesting statistic, and Dean will tell you this, that we've recently been really digging into our data. I'd ask you to guess what you feel might be the average age of our consumer in Dracut.
Well, first of all, I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure I've ever been to Dracut. Okay. So I'm going to guess, however, that it is more of the Canna Curious group, that is the 50 plus group, that is the fastest growing demographic in the industry. Did I guess?
You nailed it. You nailed it, Jimmy. You nailed it.
I'm not just
our average customer is 55 years old.
And now that group has 2 Lazy River Products dispensaries to choose from. Reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News, I'm Jimmy Young in Tewksbury, Massachusetts.
And finally tonight, I think we can all agree that since President Donald Trump has taken over the White House, that there has never been a dull moment. Whether he is creating a trade war with the world or working to deliver peace to either of the wars going on, there's always something to report on. As we reported earlier in this show, more people are anxious since he took over leadership of the country. And according to many polls, those people have increased their own use of the plant medicine to combat the anxiety. Well, now he is working on changing the narrative of his own personality. Trump is, rather. This past week, Kid Rock brokered a meeting between Trump and a longtime critic, comedian Bill Maher. Both were joined by podcast king Joe Rogan and UFC king Dana White. Maher used the moment to announce his change of heart about the president, and it happened on his show on HBO. There's no word on whether that hurt or helped his ratings, but there are plenty of people out there who are disappointed in his sudden about face. Your call. That's this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Elena Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Consume responsibly. Happy Easter. Happy 420. And we will see you next time.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Welcome to Pro Cannabis Media, your go-to for all things cannabis. PCM is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news and talk shows with a twist. We've got 16 state correspondents and multimedia journalists from around the US and Canada.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with Bee Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters.
Andrew Behringer here reporting from Washington, D.C.
Debbie Fazy with the Canadian Toke of the Week.
It all started back in 2018 when founder Jimmy Young kicked off the In the Weeds podcast. His mission? Documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition. Fast forward to today and we've got Cannabis Coast to Coast with Elena Pinto, delivering the nation's only TV-style cannabis news show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast, PCM TV's weekly roundup of industry news from California to New York. I'm Elena Pinto.
As of August 2024, PCM has racked up over 1.2 million views and 14.5 million impressions on our YouTube channel. With 15,000 subscribers and growing, our reach is spreading like wildfire. PCM's website, YouTube, Rumble, Discord, Roku, Twitch, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and even our very own PCM TV app. Get your cannabis news fix with Pro Cannabis Media. We're here to keep you informed and entertained. Stay tuned and stay lifted.